Hey guys, Deathletter Magic here, and I have actually heard this question bounced around online and in person at certain local gaming stores. Besides just lands, just the existence of lands, how they work, what they are, and why you can never draw them. Besides that obvious glaring issue that people always point to, probably the number 2 most hated thing in Magic is control. So people have asked, why is control a thing? Why don't they eliminate the blue color? Which, okay, do they really need to go that far? But just get rid of removal, get rid of counter spells, get rid of all this crap that stops you from doing what you're doing. Because everybody knows the most aggravating thing in a Magic game, obviously once again sparing not drawing any lands or mulliganing to 4 because of lands, is casting something and getting it immediately removed from play. So we're talking red direct damage, it's dead, and you're like, crap, I needed that. Great, the game's basically over because that was my last chance to get a foothold. Awesome. Or, oh, I finally got this great synergy going, this awesome little mini combo, and it's gone, counterspelled. Well, that's aggravating. So if something is making the customers, the players, the participants in your thing angry, maybe you should remove it, right? So people have legitimately asked, why don't they just get rid of control? Just completely remove it. Bare minimum, get rid of, just gut the blue color. Just ditch it. Blue can draw and scry and have highly defensive creatures and defenders and flyers. That's it. That's all I get. No more counter spells for you. And some people just go as far as to say nothing should stop anything. It'll just be a creature brawl. And, you know, that's dynamic enough, I guess, in their opinion. Kind of hinting at what I think of this. You know, you got first strike, double strike, flying, trample, wither, afflict, menace, protection. I mean, you could just leave it as a creature brawl. In fact, instead of Magic the Gathering, just name it Creatures the Gathering. By the way, absolute tangent, but what the hell is the Gathering? Like, in the story, in the lore, what is the Gathering? Who's gathering, where, and why? I have always wondered that and can't find it online. If anybody has the answer, I assume you would have had to have played 25 years ago. I would love to hear it. Or is it just a generic term for like gathering mana? Or is it I have no idea. Anyway, you could leave it to that. The problem is the game would very, very quickly devolve into just the fastest whatever. Fastest deck, fastest damage, fastest creatures, fastest combo. And you could still do combos, enter the battlefield effects. I mean, those are still a thing. In fact, there's still enchantments, there's still artifacts, there would still be equipment. I mean, the game would be pretty dynamic and not boring without control. And a hell of a lot less aggravating. Oh, sorry, you guys are all British apparently. Aggravating. Well, we can't have anybody getting aggravated. So would the game be better off without control? Without creature removal, board wipes, or counter spells? I'll leave pin down. Maybe pin down would be okay. I don't know. Or maybe not. Basically just like anything that'll screw with you, it's gone. You know, leave flyers, death touchers, first strike, you know, all these interesting things and just leave the game to it, right? I mean, free casting, ETB effects, fun equipment, stuff with charge counters. Yeah, a lot would go, but think about what would all be left. Well, like I said before, the game would devolve into just the fastest, best deck. The best overall deck, the most likely to win. It can do 20 damage faster than any other deck. The end. And then the only meta of what beats what competes with what has a natural advantage over what, with all control removed, combo decks would be out of control. They would just have to stop printing cards that work with other cards in a recurring manner, I guess. I mean, everybody would just play the combo and they would know, as long as I have the cards in my hand, literally nothing can stop me. There would be no creature removal and no counter spells. You would just play the combo. You would set it up and play it and then win. You wouldn't have to think. You wouldn't have to fear, oh, what if? I mean, the best you're going to get is a flash creature. I mean, or maybe, they throw out a Death Toucher, an 0/6 wall. Now you have to think of something else, which most combos play around that. I'm not even talking infinite combos, just really good combos, you know, tribal synergy or just like bring out 50 tokens, you know, something reasonably recurring. You get those in standard. I mean, just think, any planeswalker with control abilities would be removed. And what would you get? Combat tricks, boost, and token dump. I mean, there's not really a whole lot left. Maybe card draw, I guess. Scry. Ability granting, you know, lifelink, flying. That's about it. So then it would just come down to, okay, which one does more damage quicker? Okay, boom. This deck is provably inherently better than that other deck. well, it'll win enough of the time. So the dynamic that control adds to the game right now is, well, how does it play around control, though? How sensitive is it to control? Yeah, the deck's good, but how disruptible is it? Is it an all-in combo? Is it a full-blown glass cannon, which means you fire it once, the cannon shatters into a million pieces, and you can't reload it? You better kill your target with the first shot. It's just an all-in dump combo, and if they stop it, you are screwed. You know, all the way on down to, okay, there's one key card, and if they remove it, I am in deep trouble. Maybe like Master of Waves or something, I don't know, where it's like you drop it in, okay, you get a whole army, everybody's boosted, boom. Now, if they remove it, oh boy, did that hurt. Or Willbreaker, I mean, I always talk about that one. That one had every time a creature gets targeted by a spell or ability of any kind, you gain control of it until Willbreaker leaves the battlefield. Well, that deck was just things that work with Willbreaker, ways to go get Willbreaker, and Willbreaker. Oh, and then ways to protect Willbreaker. So that deck was complete and utter garbage. I built it as a joke like the week before rotation. It actually did somewhat well. But you kill Willbreaker or counterspell it or whatever, I am done. That deck can almost not win. I mean, there's some creatures, there's some flyers, there's some, 1/5s and a starfish and yeah. But basically the game's over. It has a single point of failure. Well, compare that to standard dinosaur ramp. Okay, oh look, a dinosaur. Oh look, a slightly more powerful dinosaur. Oh look, another dinosaur. Oh, this does things for every dinosaur. Oh, this one boosts dinosaurs. They could remove any creature, any piece of that, and you'd just be like, okay, you set me back a little bit. Game's not over, I still got a dinosaur army. Oh look, I summoned another dinosaur. That plays around removal like crazy, but it doesn't have a backup win condition that doesn't involve creatures usually. So there is that, so it plays around control exceptionally well because none of the creatures are independently all that important. They have a ranking, they're not all equal to each other, but within reason they could blow up 2 or 3 and it won't just end the game. And then you've got Black Zombies where that thing will eat 7 board wipes and it's like nothing even happened. They'll be coming back from the graveyard, you'll be scrying, drawing, you'll be like gaining life, losing life. Death Touchers, passive boost, resurrecting, card cycling, refill your hand. I mean, zombies, it's supposed to be based on zombies, like from movies and stuff. Like you shoot them and then they get right back up. Hell, you're raising the dead in the first place. They already died once. They're pretty damn tough. Any zombies deck in the last 4 years basically has played around control like crazy, and probably further than that. It's just that's how long I've been playing. So maybe a zombies deck wouldn't be considered the best. Remember, zombies aren't amazing. Like the green creature rush right now, that deck's out of control. They might maybe have to ban something in it. We'll have to see. I'm very curious to see how the Pro Tour does because every single card in that deck, you're like, well, it's good, but it's like, no, don't ban this card. And then you put them all together in a deck and you're like, just ban the whole damn deck. So no individual component I would say is ban worthy except for the 12/12 Trampler. That thing's a disgrace and always has been. But it's so much. There's so much ramp. There's so many giant creatures. There's so many ways to get the creatures out and so many ways to protect them. It's just 8 sets are legal. That's what you get. What the hell do you expect? I mean, there it is. That's why they should have had 2 sets cycle out. But without control, it would just dominate because it's the fastest, biggest creatures. They can swing. You can't. Their line is bigger than yours. That's how the deck works. At a basic level, it's just simply that simple. Well, they've also got a card draw engine in it usually too, like Rishkars and Mouth to Feed. So they're going to run you over. I mean, it's simple as that. If it just came down to creatures, unless you're running all first strike lifelinkers or all death touchers because Trample's coming at you, all flyers, maybe. I don't think you'd outspeed them on damage. I mean, just nothing would beat that deck. But then you added a little bit of control. Every time that they bring out, some Elvish Mystic clone, okay, let it go. And then when they finally, spend all the mana on a 5-cost dinosaur, assuming it's not hexproof, you blow it away. Now they've got a problem. You had all this time to build up, and they just got rid of their, most important stuff, or had it gotten rid of. So that deck doesn't play amazingly around control, especially board wipes. It's basically game over if you board wipe. And it runs no counter spells. That's why the deck's good, but it's not like it doesn't have a weakness. It's just, the question is it too fast, too consistent, and too good? I'd lean towards yes, but I'm on the fence on that one. So let's say, okay, zombies plays around control like crazy. Normally, with no control in the game whatsoever, zombies wouldn't be a good enough deck. Wouldn't even be considered competitive because, it's a bunch of 2/2 zombies. Oh, maybe you might boost them to 3/3. So what? Oh, they come back from the graveyard. So what? I'm just going to keep swinging with my 7/7 Trampler. The deck is just worse. It just runs worse creatures. But then you add control back into the game in this scenario where you're flip-flopping to see which one would be better and which one would be proper. Control does next to nothing against zombies, and it just wrecks the green deck. Okay, now they're about on par with each other, and honestly, from what I've seen with online play, yeah, black zombies and green creature rush are about on par with each other, especially after the sideboard. Some of the higher end vampires are just absolutely insane. So it's more like actually it's just black creatures, it's not so much zombies. I think skeletons is one of the mechanics actually, but it's just black good stuff. So the long and the short of it is basically just, if we had no control whatsoever, there would be one, maybe two decks that are just unopposed. I mean, there is no two ways to measure it. They are the best decks, period. That's all there is to it. As soon as you add in control, okay, now you actually have to be a talented deck builder instead of just, calculation, damage versus mana, speed. Okay, this one's haste so it can hit sooner. It's the old solitaire thing. How much damage can your deck do in 10 turns against like a wide open opponent, against nobody? Just run 30 games, how much damage can it do in 10 turns? And if the answer is like 80, it's a damn good deck. In that case, the highest score would win. I mean, besides a couple, like I said, you'd run all Death Touchers, okay, they might have a problem. Throwing Walls, Flyers, and Lifelink, they might have a problem. But other than that, it would be so simple and so boring. People would just look it up and say, well, what's the best deck? Oh, it's this one. Literally this one deck. It's the fastest, most consistent damage with the easiest curves. So there you go. Run that or lose. Now with control, it's like, oh, well, this deck is pretty good, but it plays around control. Cool. And this deck is an all-in brute force rush, but one settle the wreckage and the deck's dead. So, yeah, it is the best deck at combat. It runs the best creatures, but control. So control is the great equalizer. That's why a lot of the top decks that you'll see at the tournaments from the last, couple years will be able to play around control. They're not all in blitz combos. Except Red Rush, which is a complete disgrace to the game. And honestly, okay, Bomat Courier can refill your hand. You could call that playing around control, maybe. So really, we need it. We need it to just keep, simplistic brute force, run them over green decks from completely taking over the game. So as much as everybody hates control, I mean, it's the same thing. I love playing control and I hate playing against it. Gee, what else is new? I'm so unique in the Magic community. We need it. It needs to be part of the game. That said, I am 100% in favor of instituting basically what's already in Yu-Gi-Oh! You cannot have more than, we'll say, 20 control spells in a deck, and then just classify them with a little C in the bottom right or something that says control. You would not have white-blue Teferi. You would not have white-blue Approach of the Second Sun. You basically wouldn't even have white-blue. If they just said you cannot have more than 20 control spells, or maybe 16 is the right number. Oh, by the way, Yu-Gi-Oh! I heard that you're not allowed to have more than X amount of trap cards in your deck. Don't know if it's true, somebody told me it. In fact, I think there should be a limit of 12 Planeswalkers per deck. It's one of those stop it before it becomes a problem things. So yeah, I think they should put a cap on it. Because the times that control really gets annoying, like it really is so toxic and ruins the entire meta, ruins everybody's good time, ruins all of play, is when there's just the whole deck is control and then like one or two win conditions. Nobody wants to play against that. So do I think that there's an argument to be made there that like Approach of the Second Sun with like 9 board wipes, settle the wreckage, this, that, pin, down, bounce everything back to hand, counter spell, draw, scry. Should that be allowed? Should that even be allowed to be a thing? I'll say no, absolutely not. And the quickest way to do it is to just say you can't have more than this many of them. And Super Friends deck, those can go straight to hell too. I hate them. At a certain point, you're just not going to win. It's really that simple. 3 Planeswalkers hit the field. It would be a miracle if you somehow pulled it off. So yeah, I'd limit that to maybe 10, 12, something like that. Maybe 2 copies per deck of the same Planeswalker. Put an artificial limit on them. And then, like I said, limit control to probably 16. So even 16 would be high. It's still a control deck. It's just you have to at some point let your opponent play something if their deck is like 85% able to recover from control. I mean, nobody can play around that much control when it's 90% of your deck that isn't lands. I mean, that's just, nothing can play against that. So what do you guys think? Should they remove control completely? Should they leave it in? Should they put a limit on it? Or do you have another solution? Like you can only play a control spell once every other turn or something. I don't know. There could be a good idea I'm not thinking of. That certainly isn't one of them. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, and I will see you guys next video.